to a special edition of Super Jam Session where Sean rants. It's a Sean solo rant here today, and I'm going to rant because I listen to a lot of sports radio, and that happens quite a lot. But I have something I have to get off my chest, and this is the only place I have to do it, seeing how I have no radio show. And I know that Skylar would probably enjoy being a part of this conversation, but really I just need to say it. And by the time this airs, this could be completely irrelevant. It could mean nothing. It could be revealed that it was a work and that it was just done for publicity, and that's all well and good. But I have to get my 2 cents in on this thing because it's something that I wasn't bothered by until I really started thinking about it, and now I really just want to get it off my chest. So, many of you know I'm a decent enough of a football fan. A lot of you have seen my shorts, both the ones that I wear and the ones that I've posted on YouTube. That has built up the following that we have, and I appreciate all of you for entertaining my thoughts and berating me about my hair. And this time I've been very critical of one team in particular, especially at the end of the season. I said a few things that were received some backlash, let's put it, I still defend those statements, although none of those have changed, but the team I'm talking about is the New York Jets. And the reason I'm bringing the New York Jets up is that I live in Connecticut, so I hear a lot of Jets talk radio. I'm a big fan of The Fan, WFAN, maybe one of the largest sports radio networks in the world. Does tremendous work. It's got a lot of great people on it. On their weekly radio, on their weekend radio. Some legendary names have come and gone through, of radio have come and gone through there. Boomer Esiason, the Bengals quarterback, Tiki Barber is on there now. I'll mention Mike Francesa and Joe Beningo. And, so I get a lot of New York sports talk. Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. But because I am in such close proximity, I get a lot of kind of by proxy information and also by proxy outrage that is in no short supply when it comes to New York sports. But particularly with the Jets, a little background on why I give a shit. Let's start there. Namely, I grew up in a small town in New York called Walton. And there was Pee Wee football there. And the first time I played Pee Wee football in Walton, New York, the team I was on was the Jets. And in classic Jets fashion, we lost every game. Except for one, which we tied with the Giants, but we still tied when we never won a game. We tied a game, never won one. It's what it was. We're the Jets. But from that day, I've always had the ever smallest sliver of support for the New York Jets. When it comes to my fandom of Tampa Bay, the Jets and I couldn't be further apart. There's no stake that I have in my fandom with the Buccaneers that it relates to the New York Jets other than I'm in the area. But I've always had a sliver of hope for the Jets. Like, I want them to do well, especially as a Buccaneers fan who had 13 years of misery that were remedied by Tom Brady and the Super Bowl win, and then the 3 subsequent playoff years since, good or bad. But the Jets, they've been struggling. They've been struggling for 50 years. And most recently, it's been almost the same amount. 2010 was the last time they were in the playoffs. It is now 2024, so definitely a much different dynamic. But 14 years, they've been waiting for playoffs. And this most previous year felt like the year that they were going to do it, or at least they were going to get close, or they were going to at least make the playoffs. I mean, the Jets fans were going crazy. They were like, we're Super Bowl bound. We have the greatest defense on earth, and we have Aaron Rodgers. And that was the big get. Right around this time last year, they announced the New York Jets are getting Aaron Rodgers. And everybody in New York leapt for joy because hope had entered the city once again, or so we thought. And there were a lot of people that were very hesitant, and myself included. I said, I hope that Aaron Rodgers is going to make a difference. But I never got out of the back of my mind that time that Charles Barkley said that Aaron Rodgers is the teenage girl that constantly has to be told he's pretty. And all you really have to do is look at last season to demonstrate just how much accuracy was behind that statement. Because let's do the timeline here for a second. And I'm going to get to the rant part I'm not even there yet. But I'm going to get to the rant part in just a second. But let's look at the timeline here of just this calendar year to year, what Aaron Rodgers has meant to the Jets. He arrives. He gets tons of publicity. Everybody's clamoring. Aaron Rodgers is here. Oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is here. He does his weekly Pat McAfee podcast, which he gets paid for handsomely to do. And he keeps doing that, and he talks up all this stuff. This is after his darkness retreat and all of that goo-gaw that led to the trade. You get to training camp. Aaron Rodgers is playing. They do the season of Hard Knocks on the Jets. And you hear a lot of things from Aaron Rodgers, and then you hear, our offensive line isn't that good. And then you start to see a lot of things in that season of Hard Knocks that were alarm bells as a team. Unlike when Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers, where Tom Brady did everything in his power to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the opportunity to win, good, bad, or indifferent, you got to see that firsthand. And honestly, I'm really glad that Tampa did not have to deal with Hard Knocks. I think it's a dumb show. I think it doesn't do anything or solve anything. And if it went away tomorrow, no one would complain about it. It provides some insight, but that could also be the detriment to a team, especially one that needed the depth of culture as badly as New York. Because it's a very defeatist attitude here when it comes to the New York Jets. And even every New York Jet fan was hesitant to get enjoyed. As clamored as they were, they're going, what evidence do we have to show for ourselves that this is going to improve? But we all held out hope, right? We all held out hope that Aaron Rodgers was going to be the transformer of worlds, and he was going to do magically the same thing that Tom Brady did in Tampa Bay. They got a bunch of names that Aaron liked. They built up a decent defense. Joe Douglas was being hailed for his moves, especially with 4 draft picks that were on the horizon, which was, that garnered them Sauce Gardner, as among other names. And they've got some tools and they got some talent. And then September 11th happened. And and out of context, that would probably confuse a bunch of you, but September 11th, 2023, Aaron Rodgers jogs out onto the field in a Jets uniform carrying the American flag, and MetLife Stadium is going absolutely crazy. They're losing their minds. Aaron Rodgers is here. He's going to bring the Jets into the new era. And in 4 plays, bam, torn Achilles, out for the season. So then what do the Jets do? Well, as the entire arena has been just completely chasmed out of their energy. Boy, you want to talk about premature ejaculation. That's about as Jets-like as you can get. And in comes Zach Wilson, this poor kid, who nobody believed in, namely himself, went out there, beat the Bills, somehow beat the Bills anyway, and then proceeded to be what he was in the past couple of years, with the clear idea being, we got to find somebody else to fill this gap, because if Aaron Rodgers isn't here and if Zach Wilson's all we got, we're in trouble. And instead of doing the thing at the trade deadline where they could have gotten someone like Joshua Dobbs, even though he was an equal flash in the pan, they said, we're sticking with Zach. We're going to ride it out with Zach no matter what. And it was very clear that the entirety of the Jets season was solely in Aaron Rodgers' basket. They put all their eggs into the Aaron Rodgers basket, and Aaron Rodgers tripped, and the entire basket of eggs fell, and every one of them broke. And so for the next 18 weeks, we got titillated with, oh, well, I'm recovering pretty well. I might come back. He's on Pat McAfee getting paid handsomely every week. And when that day happened, I particularly said, now we're going to, after I was pick myself off the floor from laughing so hard, not because it's funny that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but because the fact that Aaron Rodgers got hurt 4 plays in is the most New York Jets thing that could possibly happen. After I picked myself up on the floor, I said, now we're really going to see just how much Aaron Rodgers wants to be a New York Jet. Is this going to be about the Jets, or is it going to be about Aaron Rodgers? And what did we hear for 18 weeks? I'm coming back. I'm moving healthily. I'm doing great stuff. How often did you hear about the Jets on Pat McAfee's show? Be real. Be honest with me. How often were those 40, 50-minute interviews about what the Jets are doing and how he's helping the Jets and supporting the Jets? And I understand when you're on IR, you're not allowed into the building, right? That's it. You're not allowed into the facilities, so you have to keep some level of distance. So I get that that's ingrained in the rules. But at the same time, you're not talking about what the team is doing, and I believe, and giving the encouragement, and maybe every so often you are, but I'll tell you what you're not doing, Aaron Rodgers. You're not benefiting the team by just showing up with that shit-eating grin and that porn mustache on your face, trying to explain and lie and BS everyone into saying you're coming back from an Achilles in a record time by months. Everybody was like, well, maybe he will. Maybe he will, because what Aaron Rodgers does best is milk the media and milk people for clicks and money and attention. And he does it all the time. He's done it all the time. And we saw in that year where the Jets were just in a pit and pile of misery, where it was obvious Robert Saleh had to go, where it was obvious Joe Douglas might get one more year, but at most he's getting one more year. And if it doesn't go well because he did nothing at the trade deadline, and I mean nothing at the trade deadline, then maybe Joe Douglas has to be fired too. Instead, we ride out the season, and it was painful. It was a painful season for the Jets. It really was, and I felt for him every step of the way, especially as Aaron Rodgers just made things more and more himself. And then another great contribution to the culture of the New York Jets team, he has this dumb feud with Jimmy Kimmel over Epstein Island, which had no bearing and purpose for the betterment of what the Jets are trying to do. It's clear that Aaron Rodgers cares more about Aaron Rodgers than he ever did about the New York Jets. And then we get this news this week. Of the time of recording, it's this week, but the day, the official free agency period, the official new league year, which started on Wednesday, March 12th. March 13th, I'm sorry. And March 13th, the new calendar starts. We hear from independent political candidate for president, Robert Kennedy Jr., that Aaron Rodgers is on the short list of vice presidential candidates he wants to run with him. Now, we heard a Robert Kennedy interview where he basically gave all the qualities that makes Aaron Rodgers a great vice president, and then when asked about all the other candidates, he's like, oh, they're there. Which goes to show that I don't know if it's just Aaron Rodgers is the guy that you're choosing. But this is why I'm talking to you about this. Normally, I wouldn't care. It's a politician looking for a good football player who's well-spoken and has no qualms about the state of either political spectrum right now, which is something I respect in a man, who holds true to his morals more than he holds true to political alignments. I'm all about that. However, Aaron Rodgers then didn't really deny it and said he was basically considering it without getting too far into the deal. Basically said he was considering it. Here's why I have such a problem with this. Because here we are on Saturday, at the time of recording, on March 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day, and we don't know whether Aaron Rodgers is going to be named the vice presidential candidate for Robert Kennedy Jr. Now, if I'm the New York Jets organization, I am furious. If I am a Jets fan, I am furious about this. Not, oh, it's cool, our quarterback might run. No, what this means is that if Aaron Rodgers is thinking that the vice presidency is more appealing to him, which I understand, than being the quarterback of the Jets after playing 4 plays, doing nothing for the team, getting bad publicity thrown its way because of this dumb feud with Jimmy Kimmel, making the entire organization look bad because this is the way, it's a poor reflection on everything that Aaron Rodgers promised to bring in to the New York Jets. And if I'm a Jets fan, this is a slap in my face. If I'm Joe Douglas, this is a slap in my face, because he's basically outwardly telling you, I don't give a crap about you. I don't give a crap about the Jets. I care about 2 things, Aaron Rodgers and what Aaron Rodgers is doing, and the money that Aaron Rodgers can make. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. Maybe 4th, 5th, or 6th on his list, below working out and darkness retreats and some level of upper superiority complex based on his interactions with the media. And I'm no lover of the media, but at the same time, you could tell that there's a holier than thou attitude that he takes in his quote unquote humility. If I'm the New York Jets, what you have just been told is that I will leave you high and dry right when you need me the most come September, after you have waited for 2 years to come and have me play and bring your team to a place that you have been dying to be, let alone the Super Bowl. Forget the Super Bowl. Playoffs, just playoffs, for God's sakes. This is the Aaron Rodgers sold the Jets on a bill of goods that he was going to change the culture, he was going to change the attitude, and he was going to make the Jets respectable again. And he has done the antithesis of all of those things. And now he's going to spit in your face and say, I might not even be there because I might be running for vice president. If I'm Joe Douglas, I'm sitting his ass down right now. And I look him in the face and say, okay, look, you got to tell me right now, right here, is this a work? Are you just working the public, or are you actually looking to do this? Because if you're going to look to do this, we will pay out your contract. You're no longer a member of the New York Jets. Go be a politician. Go be the former football star, because you have no place here. You've done more harm than good for this entire team. You've screwed over all of our finances. You've screwed over Coach Saleh, even though he's not that good of a coach. We all can see that. But you've screwed us over because now we couldn't fire him because you needed him here. And if this is beyond Joe Douglas, then have Woody Johnson have this conversation with him and go, we could have fired Joe Douglas. We could have fired Bob Saleh. We could have overhauled half of this offensive line that you want so desperately for yourself, and maybe use our draft capital to get a quarterback that'll actually want to play here and want to make this team better. And we could have used some of this money to go get somebody like a Russell Wilson or somebody else who might be able to change the face of what the New York Jets is, instead of getting the I'll play when I want to because the Jets need me, I don't need the Jets. Aaron Rodgers has become CM Punk in 2014. I don't have to work with you. You have to work with me. This is you, and everyone's getting mad in New York about Marcus Stroman not wanting to pitch opening day because he doesn't want to keep the rotation or change the rotation because he wants to do the home opener instead when Garrett Cole is down for 2 months, who's the most reliable pitcher in baseball. That's a different story. I'm just getting into the New York sports comparisons here. They're calling Marcus Stroman selfish, which he is, but nobody is setting the standard for selfishness in the NFL and in the New York sports culture quite like Aaron Rodgers. And if I'm a Jets fan, I am pissed. I am livid that your quarterback has basically said to you, you don't mean anything to me if I can get in with a better deal. There's always a bigger fish to catch. And truthfully, with how much time Aaron Rodgers has left and how much investment he has clearly demonstrated he does not have for the Jets organization, why would you keep him? His name? Well, his name's only going to get him more reputation with the popular political crowd. But what happens if he decides come July or August, when most of these free agent signings are gone, the draft is come and gone, that now, oh yeah, I am going to be vice president after all, and I'm not going to be able to make any of the practices, and maybe I'll play and maybe I won't. And because of the turf in MetLife Stadium, I'm sure that's going to go over really well. I'm sure it is. Now, to be fair, this could all be a work, right? This could all be just I'm just stirring up some publicity to get us talking about the Jets. That's classic Aaron Rodgers. But the way that Robert Kennedy praised Aaron so highly makes me think that this isn't. It really makes me think that Aaron Rodgers is considering making the leap. And if you're going to do that, be honest. You have done everything but be honest with the people who rely on you the most, which is the Jets organization, which is the hope of every Jet fan in the city and in the surrounding area. Every Jet fan on earth needs Aaron Rodgers to be the guy who stands up for the Jets. And all he has done is take advantage of the Jets. And that is infuriating. It is infuriating to think that instead of somebody like Tom, who came into Tampa, really most of the culture was there, but just was the final piece of the puzzle that united the team and made them play harder and work harder. And you can believe Tom and rally behind Tom instead of Jameis Winston. We've got the guy, we've got the experience, and we've got someone driven to make a point and to win. Aaron Rodgers' main directive is to further Aaron Rodgers' career. Whether that is politically, whether that's in the football, whether it's whatever he decides to do. And I'm not trying to say that he shouldn't do these things, right? I'm not trying to say he shouldn't be a politician. Hey, he could be a great vice president for all I know. He's very thoughtful. He's a smart guy. But politics aside, whatever you view about the man aside, on the political face of this, at face value, if you are the New York Jets, you are getting played by this guy. You couldn't fire the coach. You have to fire because Aaron Rodgers wants him there. You couldn't get rid of Joe Douglas and find a general manager like Jason Light because Aaron Rodgers wants him there. And you're losing pieces of the defense. Bryce Hall just got out of there. And you're going to see more Jets leaving. And what have the Jets done? They brought in Tyrod Taylor. Okay, good backup quarterback, not a bad idea. Is he going to be the guy starting this year? Because now you have to look at your season like whoever you get at quarterback whose name is not Aaron Rodgers has a very good shot of starting this year. You could have a Tyrod Taylor season right now. That is on the docket. But the fact that Aaron Rodgers is playing you with this controversial BS, which is what it is. He's playing you. He's playing on the heartstrings of all the Jets fans. He's playing on the media. He's just doing it just to mess with you. Instead of trying to help your team, instead of trying to build your organization forward, he is tearing it and dismantling it brick by brick and putting the dollars of those bricks into his own pockets. He got paid by the Jets to do nothing last year. He got paid by Pat McAfee to be on Pat McAfee last year. And you're telling me that this guy cares? No, I don't see it. I don't see that Aaron Rodgers ever really wanted to be a Jet other than I can make the most money milking this franchise's name for all it's worth. And it's a disservice to the Jets because the Jets are easy targets. And that's the way it's always been with New York. And it's infuriating, and I'm not even a Jets fan, and I am mad on behalf of Jets fans here because this is inexcusable. It is inexcusable. If you are the general manager, Robert Saleh, or if you're the head coach, Bob Saleh, whose credibility has been completely destroyed by the way that he handled last year and handled the season and how he just was not acknowledging, and you're Robert Saleh, and you're thinking your lucky stars Aaron Rodgers is there. Maybe that's the same way if you're Joe Douglas. This is why you're not saying anything. But if you're Woody Johnson, the owner of this franchise, and you've got your quarterback who you paid top dollar for to turn your franchise around, and he's making it worse for being there, at what point is enough enough? There is still time. And also, the balls it took for Aaron Rodgers to make this whole controversy basically came out on... the rumblings of it were Wednesday and then kind of escalated Thursday, Friday. But right as the league year begins, which was long before, and you could have said this to them long before when the Jets could go and prepare for this. So then, okay, maybe we need to trade somebody to draft, to get a quarterback, bump up our position a little bit. Maybe we need a different free agent quarterback that's in the mix. You know, I know Baker Mayfield probably wasn't leaving Tampa, but you could have at least probed to figure out if there was some monetary value that you might be able to throw at him, or any number of these other quarterbacks. Jimmy G, LOL, but still, you know, there was a ton of names. Kenny Pickett, we didn't know he was going to be on the market. Russell Wilson was on the market, and that one you would have gotten for free, basically. But instead, you had to be shackled to the ghost of Aaron Rodgers because it's not Aaron Rodgers there. He's not there. Aaron Rodgers is doing Aaron Rodgers things. You're shackled to the ghost of Aaron Rodgers. And to me, that is an inexcusable way to treat the franchise that gave you a chance when there was a good chance that after Green Bay left, I'm sure somebody would have scooped him up. I'm sure somebody would have scooped him up. But you're telling me right now that Aaron Rodgers didn't choose the Jets because he knew that if the Jets still suck with him and he was able to kind of launch his own career, that he could do that and not worry about whether the Jets were any the wiser or better for it? He's too smart for that. He's too smart for that. I genuinely think Aaron Rodgers chose the Jets because he knew he didn't actually have to make them better. And this is the part that drives me nuts about this, because he basically just outwardly took his dick out and slapped you in the face with it. The whole Jets organization just got dick slapped by Aaron Rodgers. And that would drive me insane. That would have me in the streets knocking on Woody Johnson's door saying, get rid of this guy, which is what you need to do. This is what needs to be done. You need to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I can't believe I'm agreeing with Sky. He said it in jest, but the Vikings need a quarterback. They need somebody, and if they want to go take the gamble of whether Aaron Rodgers plays or not, let him. Let him. Because that way you can move forward as a franchise rather than being shackled to this prima donna diva who only cares about himself. And everybody said that Tom was the selfish diva, but how many times did Tom Brady restructure his contract to make sure that the weapons around him were quality enough where he could do what he needed to do? Tom Brady was humbler than pie compared to Aaron Rodgers. And I have lost all respect for Aaron Rodgers that I had built up for him over the years. He's a tremendous player, but not for the Jets. And the fact that he's probably going to leave this city with the entirety of New York having a bad taste in their mouth for him because of the way he's conducted himself and the way that he has just blatantly disregarded the needs and cares of the team while touting that he did. It's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. That kind of thing is unbecoming of any profession. That's planning your next job while still outwardly saying you're trying to help the new job, but people can see you at the next job. It's sickening. It's genuinely sickening what is happening to the New York Jets. And the Jets organization, as dysfunctional as it might be, deserves better than this. The Jets deserve better than what Aaron Rodgers is giving them. And it's amazing to say because I've been told and I've had the philosophy all the time, at the end of the day, it's the Jets. And while that may be true, and it might be true, and it might be true for 50 plus years until Joe Namath's soul debt to the devil dies and they can move on as a franchise. Even if all of that is true, you can't progress as a franchise when there is an anchor weighing you down as you try to swim back up for air. And that's where we are right now. So I feel for you, Jets fans. I do. I'm angry for you, Jets fans, because you deserve a quarterback that treats you with respect, and you don't have it right now. We'll see you later.